just love that catchy little tune. Hey, welcome to the show. Have you ever felt like describing yourself as miserably successful? Our guest today once did, and she is sharing how to give yourself permission to be happy and energized. So join us today as we dive into our latest episode featuring Cortney McDermott, bestselling author and TEDx speaker. You know, we have a super magical guest when the grandson of Nelson Mandela, Ndaba Mandela, says about her, all you have to do is look into Courtney's eyes and you know she's figured something out. Her gift is helping the rest of us figure it out too. And today in this episode, Court's going to be helping us figure out that and so much more. Court has a Master of Science from the London School of Economics and a career spanning top corporations like Vanity Fair and Google. Courtney is an authority in self-development and business strategy. Today, you'll learn 2 transformative steps to start trusting and giving yourself permission for joy, happiness, and so much more. Plus, some actionable tools for generating sustainable energy in your life. And hey, I've got something fun. You know, last week we were playing around with some new intro songs. Today, we've got a really fun one. It's a nice little country style tune. So dig in, enjoy, and we're going to hop in with Cort McDermott.
Yeah, I'm on the road to renewally burn out by. Got my boots on, ready to start this brand new life. Tired of the hustle, had enough of the grind. With Carole Jean by my side, gonna leave burnout history behind. Woke up this morning with a smile on my face. No stress, no worries, just joy in this place. Carole Jean's podcast got me inspired to let go of the burnout and embrace the fire. I'm dancing my way to recovery with a happy beat. Carole Jean's words bring me hope, they can't be beat. I won't let burnout define me, no, not anymore. Together with Carole Jean, we'll make burnout history for sure. Burnout define me, no, not anymore. Together with Carole Jean, we'll make burnout history for sure.
I love it. They're so fun. We're going to keep playing around with these. The team and I are having so much fun. I can't wait. So guys, let's dive into this great conversation. So, hey, if you're new, I'm Carole Jean Whittingtin. I'm the host of Beyond Chronic Burnout, and I'm so excited that you're here with us. Hey to everybody out in our live studio audience. Our buddy Edna's over there on YouTube. Hey, Edna. All month long, I'll be sharing mental health related insights, resources, and fantastic guests as we dive into the impact burnout has on our mental well-being. I'll be sharing our stellar guest lineup for May at the end of the show, so stick around so you can hear exactly who's coming next because our guest today is just magical. Today, we're going to delve into 2 transformative steps to kickstart your journey towards trusting yourself and granting permission to embrace your happiness. Discover the profound impact of paying attention to your attention as we uncover what truly brings you joy. My guest, Cortney McDermott, shares invaluable insights, reminding us that sometimes we can never fully appreciate the path ahead. Learn how embracing trust can lead to unexpected treasures and explore 3 actionable ways to begin the journey of relaxation and self-assurance. This is a power-packed episode, and I cannot wait to share this with you. So let me welcome Cort. Welcome to the show. I am thrilled to have you here today. Cort, I have got the happy tingles right now because your book is bringing such joy to me. And one of my favorite questions to ask people in my life is, what is sparking your joy? What is lighting up your heart? What is making you smile and get the tingles? What is giving you bouncy happies? What is sparking your joy today, Cort?
Carole Jean, okay. It is such a mutual admiration society. And what is sparking my joy today is really just having this chance to be here with you. I mean, you and I met online a little, not that long ago, but I feel like I've known you forever. And it just, my heart is full of gratitude to be here talking with you today. So,
Oh, I love that so much because I have been just ever since we connected, and I hadn't even met you in, like face to face yet. And I had just read your bio and I was just like, oh, she's my person. She's my people, right? And then we had this beautiful conversation and I got off the call and we were talking about this before we recorded. I got off the call and I was like you, I was just like, oh, heck yes, I love her. She's amazing. She's the best energy. Like we're so in the same understanding. And I think it's also not in the same understanding, but we're also on different parts of this journey, which I love because I think there's so much that you have to share. And after laying awake in bed going, I have to put this book down. I need to go to sleep. But then I like set my alarm 30 minutes extra early because I was like, I got to get up and read some more. I got to read more. And one of the things that you were talking about, and I think energy mastery really comes in. One of the biggest barriers that I see so often is that we don't trust ourselves. We don't have a trust. And, you kicked the book off with some things that I, kind of like the question I started with. And this is all for you guys too. If you're listening or watching, what is sparking your joy today? What is lighting your heart up? And that was one of the things that you ask. And when you're saying, what makes you happy? Like, what do you love to do? So, Court, if you're talking to people today who are like, they don't know what they love, they haven't stopped and thought about that, they haven't given themselves that pause. What are those 2 steps that you think this is really critical? How do you get started?
Mm. I think the answer is in the question. You said pause, right? And one of my favorite sentiments ever is that all of our problems stem from our inability to sit quietly in a room alone. It's the comfort with what's going on, what's really going on. It's so funny how we discount what's inside of us because we continue to chase externalities when what's inside of us is the gold. And sometimes it doesn't feel like gold because sometimes it feels really gnarly. And when someone's at a place where they don't understand even what they like anymore, which I can relate to having been at a point in my life where it was like, what do I even enjoy? I don't even know because I was so busy chasing a script. And so this comes from someone who I wasn't always in this position where I was, oh yes, I'm leading with this joy and by the way, when I say joy, I don't mean that you're bouncing off the walls all the time. I mean, what I mean by that is that even the things that before might have seemed upsetting, there's gold in them. This is when I say there's gold in you. There's gold in them. There's so much, somehow this strange, and I don't mean this in a sadomasochistic way, but there's this strange enjoyment of really getting with yourself and getting with all of the tides within you. And so when someone's really struggling with it, I say the first thing is just even a couple minutes a day, really starting to get with yourself the way you would as almost a loving parent with a child would do, where you say, I'm here, what's up? And the more you start to do that, the more space you're going to create inside of you to live this joy that we're talking about, that we're experiencing. And then the more you'll also be able to bring that out into the world if that's important to you. And I think ultimately it is important to all of us. So,
You just said something that's just so incredibly powerful. And I just want to highlight that. And it was creating space within yourself. Because I feel like for decades when I was in just this chronic cycle of some degree of burnout for almost 40 years, I was so busy doing and filling all the space because that quiet, that space within myself felt so uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
How do we start to begin? Because I didn't trust it, right? It was uncomfortable. And to me, the script was being uncomfortable is bad, quote unquote, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
I think so. What I've seen a lot of times is that when we're really in that, because it's more in our minds, right? So it's all of these constructs that sort of lead us into this place of real, I would say, I mean, it feels like fear and massive discomfort, as you said. And so one of the first things I always kind of advise people when they're in that place is to get physical. So again, we overlook this, but I think anyone listening has had been in a situation where they've really been struggling with something, and then they just kind of got their move on a little. You know, maybe they went for a walk, or they, I don't know, cycled around the block, and all of a sudden it was like, Eureka! I'm kind of okay now, or maybe I'm totally okay. And we shouldn't really overlook this because it's one of the ways to kind of quickly shift our state so that we can start telling ourselves a different story, and so that we can start that listening that we're talking about, because it is frightening at first. And I think also because we've been sort of trained to not trust what we erroneously believe we control. So let me explain what I mean by that. We trust virtually everything that's occurring within and around us. I talk a lot about this in the book. Like, we have this inherent trust. We have to have it in order to survive, right? So you're trusting that your heart is pumping oxygen to your vital organs right now. You're trusting that, right? You don't sit around, lay around awake thinking, oh my God, I've got to control this. I've got to create a 5-year plan for it. You know, in the same way, you're not worried about this, ball of dirt that's spinning around a star that we call a sun, and you're not thinking, oh man, I better hold on to something, right? Because what if the forces of gravity don't keep me in place? You're not doing that, right? And we're not doing that. And this is for the majority of what's happening within us and around us, is that we're trusting because we have to for our survival. So this crazy, crazy, crazy thing sets in somewhere. I don't even know. It depends on what kind of environment you grew up in, but for most of us, it sets in pretty quick. Is, well, I got to take this infinitesimal part that's left over, and I got to somehow try to control it, because otherwise the sky's going to fall. And I got to have a path and a plan. And if I don't, then I'm a loser. I'm whatever it is. However, then we become really conditioned into this. Instead, when you start to live your life from this place of like, oh, wait a second, what if I start to gently and compassionately extend that trust to the places where I felt like I couldn't before? And again, to go back to what I was saying at the very beginning of this answer, is first get physical and just realize, like, it's, the sky isn't falling, and these things that we see as potential threats, maybe they're actually these opportunities lying in wait, as we were saying a little earlier. And that's really facing full on and getting with yourself again. I'm here. What's up? Yeah.
Okay, so if you are also like a visual and auditory thinker like I am, you're also rocking the 1980s song "Let's Get Physical" right now.
Let's get physical. I'm with
Physical.
you, Carole Jane. I'm with you. We could start a dance party. I had a dance party right before this.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That's one of my micro recharges. It's just like turn on your favorite jam and move your body. Because,
Yeah.
when you were talking about move your body, if you're not feeling like you're trusting, if you're feeling really uncomfortable, if you have all of these thoughts going and you're not getting that pause in that space, one of the most powerful, like micro recharge shifts that I have found for myself, and it sounds like this is like exactly what Court is saying, change your space, like get out of the location you're in, get outside if you can, move your body. Because one of the most incredible things that I think happens is, when you talk about this in the book, and I was like, oh heck yes, cheering you on over here. Our life is where our attention is, and if we're continuing to put our attention on the things that we're afraid of and the things that we think we have to control, because really perfection is an illusion and control is an illusion.
Mhm.
And that is really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not going to let that is massively uncomfortable in the beginning. But then it becomes this playful element of like, and very free. Like, I don't have control and it's not perfect and it's good. It's fun. I'm glad. I'm excited to see what unfolds because there's so many possibilities. You talk about that word a lot, the possibilities.
Mhm.
And I think that when you give yourself permission, you're then allowing possibilities. But I think there's that element that we go back to in that trust. How are we beginning? And you say, start with compassionately doing this, like just in these little small micro things, right? Microdosing, like we can do 5 minutes or less. This doesn't have to be massive. And I think that's where the barriers and the blocks and like all the crud comes up, where we start thinking is like, I'm supposed to do it this way. Or if I'm going to do it, go big or go home kind of thing. And I think that really jacks us up a little bit, if I'm just speaking very uneloquently here. But it
Well,
does. I mean, how do we start to, and I love the exercise that you had in the book of like just getting a piece of paper and a pen. And guys, we're talking old school here. Like, go analog, get your pen, get your paper, get your favorite pen, get the prettiest piece of paper. Like, Court, I love that you grabbed like a piece of cardboard, cut it out, squared it off, and did like 12 months of this beautiful, what do I love? What do I want? Like, what's the dream in each one of these? But we got to back up and even just start with, what do I love? So how do people
Mhm.
do that today?
Well, you hit on a really core piece of that when you talked about attention, and that being a part of the book. One of the things that I said in the book was, we're not paying attention to our attention. And if you still pause on that for a second and you think about, what is this thing? What is my attention? What is the power of my attention? I mean, you would be starstruck if you really knew. I mean, billions, no, trillions are invested annually to capture that one resource, your attention, right? So that's why you go to the phone. That's why you go to a series or whatever it is. And so the question becomes, I think one of the biggest questions becomes, how do I recapture my attention, since it's such a precious resource, you know? And And I really believe, yeah, going a little analog, like you said, and kind of going rogue. I always say I'm going rogue, right? If everyone's running in one direction, it's very likely you're going to see me heading in the opposite. It's just go rogue, because most of the time it's going to pay off, and even if it doesn't, you're going to have an interesting experience. You're going to have some fun. So I think, yeah, one of the biggest pieces is really starting to pay attention when you're trying to find what you love. Again, you got to get back to that, a little bit of quiet. Again, you don't have to sit cross-legged holding a mudra and chanting a mantra, but you do have to kind of start getting with yourself and saying, I'm here, babe. And I do use those terms sometimes, because we have to, because we weren't really taught to be as endearing with ourselves as we need to be in order to lead really fulfilling lives. So when I say I'm here, is I'm going through something, and some wave of emotion or sensation, I should call it, is taking over my being, which is part of the mystery and magic of being human. When that's happening, and I'm just there and saying, okay, what's up, things will spring up. They will. This is kind of, I don't make promises lightly, but the more you listen, I do promise that the more we get these insights that come from a place that no one's ever accurately been able to describe nor explain, because it's almost like this endless well of wealth, of inner wealth. So it will show you, it will start to point to what you love. And that might even in that moment be some deep rest, because you haven't had it in a while. It could be going to get your nails done. I have no idea, but it'll sort of like breadcrumbs at first, and then sort of avalanches of gold. I keep using gold today. I don't know why. Gold. I don't know. The
Because
Midas
it's
touch. There we go.
sparkly. It is gorgeous. Gold is this beautiful color of healing. It's this color of abundance. I mean, I love gold. I love that. I love the color, the yellow, the golden, right? Last night,
Mhm.
it's a where we're recording right now, it was a full Virgo moon last night. And
Right.
we went out and it was just this gorgeous yellow. It was this golden color. And I just remember stopping. Like I get chills just right now, just envisioning what I saw last night. And I just had this feeling of peace. And it's with all of that disruption and shedding that sort of come with that season right now. It's also, I know, because I've begun to trust that even in these feelings of discomfort and the unknown, right? Because so often one of the things that we feel like in order for us to trust anything, we have to know all the steps. We have to know the how. We have to have this big plan, right? And I cannot tell you how much I was just cheering and my face was just, I was like this. I'm grinning from ear to ear. And I was so happy because reading when you were talking about not having all of the hows, and that, runs in the other direction of everybody else. It goes against the grain. And it's one of the things that I've had to look at. Where was my attention? Why was I not stepping into my love of things, the things that I know inside of me that are mine, is my passion, my mission, my purpose? Why was I not doing it? And it was, I didn't know the how. I didn't have that control. I didn't have that trust. But if somebody is there in that same place, Court, what are your insights? Where is your experience in this one?
I love hearing this because we can never know the how. And yet, once again, we're trained and conditioned in believing that we somehow should. But in any given situation or circumstance, there are infinite variables involved. I mean, infinite variables involved. And you can have no idea what synchronicities have actually brought that particular space-time event to you. I mean, you really can't. You can never know. And yet we're somehow trained in the school, and we have come to revere this sort of rational approach, this sort of logical approach to figuring things out. And what I will say is that there is some merit in there, and there is some merit and even just intellectual interest and curiosity in linear sort of formations or even definitions of what this experience is, because it's a way to kind of play around with our conscious mind as far as we can tell. But again, going back to that trust piece, what I was saying, I mean, there are trillions of biochemical reactions occurring in your body like this very second. I mean, this very second. There is no one on the planet who can precisely tell you how all of that is coordinating one with one another. I mean, every one of those reactions knows what every other one is doing. I mean, can you imagine that? It's unfathomable. So again, we think, oh, but that doesn't apply to how I'm going to get this job or something. Now, you can take steps, but again, you don't know the variables involved. You may or may not get that position, but you don't know the variables involved, and you also don't know why a certain thing has to go a certain way. But if you start to trust in your own evolutionary impulses, which are these things we call desires, which is how I like to think of real desires, the desires that aren't the trap. And we can get into Buddha if you'd like, but the desires that are the evolutionary impulses that are coursing through you, that are unique to you. And it's really starting to understand, okay, if I can just be with that for a second, and I don't try to break it all down. I don't try to figure it all out, but I can just kind of be and enjoy with the energy of this, the fizziness of this, the champagne-like quality or that golden stardust quality of this thing. I'm already experiencing it. I'm already living it. I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, you're already, and then you start to see, oh wow, actually this is the secret sauce. I didn't need to go, quote unquote, make it happen. I think the way that that's dogmatized in our society or all these things, I agree fully with you that we get into a lot of trouble when we take that approach. We're also it's also highly, highly inefficient. So yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely inefficient.
Yeah.
It's
So inefficient.
this was right. And this was one of those things that I've always been a pretty optimistic, like my glass is half full kind of girl. But there was this time in my life where I stopped trusting that. And when I did, I then felt like, because other people around me were saying, well, you haven't thought about all of the things that could go wrong. And I was like, no, I haven't, because I see all the possibility. I see that this will work. And I started to doubt myself because other people were questioning. And I was like, well, if they're questioning me, maybe I'm wrong. So then I agreed with that I could be wrong. And then I got in this place where, Well, I had to start making a list of like, okay, these are the possibilities, these are the great things. But then I was like, then I was diving in deeper into all the stuff that could go wrong. And that was the ickiest, nastiest, most horrible feeling in the world. And I was like, I don't like this. This isn't me. This doesn't align with me. But I had to stop for a minute. I had to get that pause to go, have I taken on something that's really mine?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think when you were talking about, you know, all of those things that we don't question. We don't question all of the neurochemicals that are firing, we don't question and know all of the details of how our nervous system is sending all these electrical communications. I mean, our heart is both plumbing and electrical. We don't stop and think about every beat of our heart all day long. We don't notice it until we feel it or it's causing something that disrupts our consciousness to move to that area. So why is it that we are not trusting something that is as complex, but also as simple as our intuition and our own knowing?
Wow. It's a profound question. Also, because people might even get into splitting hairs around intuition and what that even is. Is it like is it, I don't actually maybe want to take us so much down that route than respond to this point about how we can really start to just relax, I think, into the trust. We just relax into the trust. And I think that's one of the hardest things for us to do because of precisely what you pointed out here, which is the naysayers or all of these different influences that have come in our lifetime, right, to tell us, wait, you should be looking at all of the problems. I remember once hearing Bob Marley say something to the effect of worrying is like praying to the devil. And and I think it's hilarious to me because it's like, glass half full, glass half empty. It's like just fill up the whole darn thing, enjoy it, drink it, fill it up again as many times as you want. It's this awareness that actually maybe we got something wrong somewhere, because actually maybe we're designed to really kind of live fully and enjoy this thing no matter what's happening. And I talk a lot about that in the book because, again, the kind of happiness I'm talking about is not that you run around smiling ear to ear all day. And nothing wrong with that, but it's more this deep-seated trust and awareness that there is a divine or however you want to think of it. There is a purpose. There is just like, and there is a inner working that we can't understand, but we can learn to trust and to relax into. And again, I think that relaxing piece can be really difficult in our minds, but in reality, it doesn't need to be difficult. And lots of times I'll talk about really simple ways for people to start relaxing, and also even by changing their brainwave frequencies and all sorts of things. I mean, you can do it within a minute, not even, half a minute if you just start yawning. If you yawn for 30 seconds, you're going to start dramatically changing your brainwave frequencies. You're going to move out of beta, probably high beta, which most people are in all the time. And you're going to start to move into low, mid-range beta, or even alpha. Just doing that one simple thing. And there's so many simple things that we can do to start resetting, as you put it. I loved how I don't recall exactly what you said about 10 minutes ago when you were talking about the shifts, but I loved it the way it was just, and I loved microdosing too. I sometimes say that too. I'm like, microdose on a little meditation is like 2 minutes, and it will reset you. But there are ways to do it that can make it easier and help us relax and help us get past what all of us have been conditioned into. When someone tells you you should be thinking of these other things, again, it's not that they're a bad person necessarily. It's just that's also their conditioning. So how do you stay out of that? These are some of those ways. Yeah.
So what are a couple of those little ways? Because, these micro recharge moments are, like you said, they're 30 seconds or less sometimes. What are some of those micro, just those little small places where we can begin to relax, to allow that space?
Yeah. So I love, like I said, yawning. My two favorite meditations are yawning and laughing. So if you can find anything that just makes you laugh, or even I used to do some workshops. I sometimes still do, but I used to do workshops with people, and I would sit in a circle with them and actually just start laughing hysterically. And eventually people's mirror neurons start to pick up and they'll start laughing hysterically too. And you will literally look 5 years younger at least after laughing for full out laughing for half a minute. I mean, you will see visible signs of regeneration in your body. And I think they've actually even measured this. Like, oh yeah, they did. There was who was that guy who did all those experiments with humor? He was trying to cure his cancer, and then one of the side effects of that was he actually lengthened his telomeres, which are those shoelace type looking strands at the end of your DNA that actually indicate your age, right? And as they start to fray and things, you're getting older, quote unquote. But he was actually lengthening his telomeres just through laughter. So those are great. Another thing that I love, and I learned this years ago. I was actually going through a really difficult transition myself at the time. It was kind of when I started to move out of corporate and figure out a lot of different other things in my life. And I was introduced to this practice called Koya, and the founder, Rochelle, she talked about shaking. And she introduced it like this. So you can actually do it, or anyone listening can do it. She started shaking one of her hands vigorously. And if you shake just one of your hands, keeping the other one stationary while I talk, and try to do it as fast as you can. And she told the story of a gazelle being chased through the grasslands by a tiger, and keep shaking, but the gazelle gets away. However, the gazelle does not go to therapy for 10 years about this time that there was this tiger chasing her through the woods. What the gazelle does is she shakes through every part of her body, releasing the tension, releasing the fear, and goes back to being a gazelle. Now, if you were shaking that hand very vigorously and you stop and you just feel the difference between the two hands, just feel the difference between those two hands, right? It's noticeable. There is a noticeable change. Why? Because you've actually freed up a lot of stuck stagnant energy in your body. And we can go more into the science of this if you want, because it's pretty fascinating. But you freed up that stuff. Now you might even want to shake the other hand to kind of even it out. But just that alone, shaking your body to a really fast-paced song, is one of my resets that I use almost all the time. And especially if I need to discharge kind of energy or what's happening around, I kind of just take a shake break. And sometimes I'll even do it in airports or places like that, because I don't care. I mean, I'm just like at a point where I'm like, well, is it better to be happy or look a certain way? It's better to be happy. So I'll just shake it off if I have a weird encounter or something like that. Hardly ever happens anymore, but it's useful. There's a lot of other things. I would say one of the other very quick things, just to add one more to that mix, is just lay down, even if you fear that you're going to fall asleep, and with the intention of like, okay, if you drift for a second, then get back up. Because what you're doing just in the sheer act of getting horizontal is you're sending, again, those signals to your body. You're actually sending the signal through your vagus nerve that you're calm, that you're relaxed, or at least closer to calm than you were before. And you start again down shifting those brainwave frequencies, so you can start to deal with things in a much more efficient way.
Oh my gosh, Cort, this is so good. This is like the juicy goodness that is just like balm for our very frayed nerves and our very busy minds and our very loud bodies that we're not listening to. I would love for you guys to join Cort and I. We're going to dive into the science and a couple extra things behind some of these micro things that you can try. And if you'd like to get part of this conversation, be sure to join us over in our group and our community, because we would love to be able to have these additional in-depth conversations with you. Thanks for being here on the show. Oh my gosh, you have to go get this book right now. I'm not kidding. Do not delay. It is on Amazon or any local bookseller that you prefer to use. Go get Give Yourself Permission by Cortney McDermott. You will be so incredibly grateful, and you will find so many things that begin to give you those tools, but those insights and understanding around finding this place, around this beautiful quiet and this trust. Cort, what is the one thing you would like to leave everyone with today?
Well, Carole Jean, first, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to anyone who's listened. I think if you've listened to this whole show and you follow Carole Jean, you're on an amazing path. So thank you. And I guess if I had to leave with one thing, it probably would be gratitude. If you, and we hear this quite a bit, but I think sometimes we forget to put it into practice. It's just paying attention to what is loving on you right now, because there is so much loving on you right now. And in any given moment there is. And if you can tune into that, then really the sky isn't the limit. There's no limit to the potentials that become available to you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful words to take in today. Really back up, re-listen, and absorb what she just said. Cort, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Bella.
All right, unveilers, I've got Cort here. We're going to have, oh man, so you're getting a little teaser. You're ready? You want to hear that additional conversation? Well, be sure that you sign up and take the burnout quiz. Are you feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and just not like yourself? It could be burnout, but it's more than just work fatigue or lack of motivation, right? At Whittington Wellbeing, we understand that burnout impacts every aspect of your life, including your mental health. That's why we've developed the Spicy Pepper Burnout Quiz, designed specifically for neurodivergent and disabled adults. Unlike other quizzes that only scratch the surface, ours delves deep into over 8 key impacts areas of burnout. Take the first steps towards reclaiming your well-being. Visit our website at whittingtonwellbeing.com and discover your spicy pepper level today. Plus, don't miss out on our upcoming free classes every Thursday from May 16th. That's this Thursday, guys, to June 13th, where you can learn more about the unveiling method and uncover your degree of heat. Don't wait. Take control of your burnout journey today. Visit whittingtonwellbeing.com and discover your spicy pepper level with our burnout quiz. And don't forget, sign up and get one of those free classes to take the next step. But remember, take that first step today with the quiz. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond Chronic Burnout. Remember, identifying burnout within yourself first is the fastest and most effective way to get out of burnout before it becomes chronic and costs more than just your energy. Tune in next week on Tuesday for our conversation with Dr. Nicole Mahoney. She has a background as a chiropractic physician with a master's degree in nutrition and functional medicine and is a certified nutrition specialist. Dr. Mahoney has a passion for natural approaches to well-being with a specific interest and expertise in lifestyle strategies that improve blood sugar control. We'll be discussing how blood sugar impacts burnout and ways you can begin to regulate yours and boost your mood and energy. Don't forget, if you're part of my Unveiling private community, you get the behind-the-scenes conversation with Cort McDermott this month, along with our live community event at the end of the month, where we dive into hot topics just like this one and have connection time and breakout rooms to share our thoughts and feelings with one another. If you'd like to join us, be sure to take the quiz and join our priority list to be the first notified when the doors open for our next cohort. Oh, I got something fun. I love always playing around with some new stuff. Well, we've got a fun song to say thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for being here. It's been quite a ride. Energy mastery, let's turn the tide. Top shelf guests, dropping wisdom bombs. Join us next week, where the energy's strong.